Welcome to the Synovial Marketing Masterclass, the podcast that delves into the world of marketing strategies and insights to help your business thrive. I'm your host, Hannah Lee, and in each episode, we'll explore innovative marketing techniques, industry trends, and expert advice from leading professionals. Get ready to elevate your marketing game with the Synovial Marketing Masterclass. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Synovial Marketing Masterclass. I'm your host, Hannah Lee, and I'm so excited for y'all today to have the opportunity to meet such an amazing entrepreneur, one of my business friends. She's absolutely I'm so excited to have her on the podcast because she's such a light. But Angelica Pompey, she's here with us today. She is started kind of in the photography space and is now transitioned over to a mentor and business coach. She just has so much information. So I'm so excited to jump in today. Thank you so much, Angelica, for being here.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to your audience about all things business and a little bit about my story. So, yes, thank you for having me.
Yes. So I know a little bit of your story, but I was at one of your events here recently in Jacksonville, and I had no idea that it kind of started, or part of the story was photo booths. That was new information to me. So I would love for our listeners to hear a little bit about your backstory, where you started and kind of where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the story is long, but we're gonna make it nice and snippet tight, okay? So my journey as a photographer actually started when I was in high school. I worked at my local senior portrait photography studio, and I worked there for they call it seasons, 2 years, and so 2 senior seasons, and then I went to UNF and I studied health administration, and then with that I kind of still did photography on the side. Didn't do too much with it. I got engaged and I told my husband, hey, I have this idea. Let's build a photo booth business. And he's like, huh? I was like, this is going to help us pay for our wedding. And we went to a wedding. And as soon as we left that wedding, he's like, okay, let's do that photo booth business thing. Cause their photo booth at that wedding was so dookie. And he's like, I know you can do better. And I already had outlined like all of our competitors. What are they offering, their packages? Like I've done all my market research. So when he said, let's do it, I already know where to get the photo booth, where to get the equipment, like all the things. He's like, yeah, let's pull the trigger. And we did that. And so we launched Pompey Portraits in 2017 as a photo booth company. And then in 2018, I put the camera down for a year because I really wanted to hyper focus on our experience for the photo booth. And in 2018, I rebranded my editing for photography, picked up the camera, kind of built a new name for myself with having a photo booth under my belt. And then we just kind of grew and scaled from there. I did a little bit of everything from weddings, portraits, families, newborns, and a lot of weddings. We traveled a lot. And I kind of pulled my husband into the mix. And I was like, we had a wedding in Italy. And I said, here's a camera. I need you to figure this out. And he's like, huh?
I need you to figure this out here. Just
you got this.
Do something here.
Yeah, I said, get on YouTube. You have 4 hours. Figure it out. I'll be back. And since 2019, I had a wedding in Italy that he did videography for. That was his first wedding. And obviously, our first piece of work is always not our best, but it was a stepping stone to propel him to where he is today. And then in 2021, we rebranded and we divided our business into two, and we sold our photo booth business. And so his business is 219 Films. I kept Pompey Portraits as the brand name, and I did a complete facelift to my business, my brand, my logo, website, the whole cop and caboodle. And then about a year ago, I decided to open another business because what's one more, right?
At this point.
I don't know. So I opened Angelica Pompey Education. And so basically I am a business coach and marketing strategist for female entrepreneurs to help them grow their business confidently through marketing strategies to secure the bag, AKA get your shmoney. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story. And today I wear both hats still. My photography business is actively running. I support people in our community with that. From serving them for photography services through hosting events. And then for my education brand, I'm a little bit of everywhere. I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements. I have an online community. So lots of opportunities for education there.
That is amazing. Yeah, I can definitely say, I know in the local scene, like everybody can attest to this. They're like, "Oh, she's here. She's here. She's here." Like she is everywhere. She shows up to all the things. She will be your biggest supporter. Like if there's an event somewhere, Angelica is there, like you will know she will be there. And that is one of the things I definitely want to dive into today and talk about is how are you doing all the things, because I know myself, I just talked about this with Alima on our last podcast episode. That's always my biggest question for guests is like, how are
Hmm.
you together, especially now that you have the photography business, but now you're also leaning more into the coaching and mentorship side of things. You're doing speaking engagements. It's a lot to to get together and be successful, and you're successful in all of those areas. So I would
Thank
love to
you.
kind of dive into like what's going on over there. What's
What's a
happening?
day in a life? Yes,
Woo!
absolutely. So I live and breathe my calendar.
Mm,
That was something that was an adjustment for me because I'm pretty like free spirited per se. I'm like high energy. I just want to be everywhere and anywhere, wherever I could be. Like you said, I'm always trying to support people. But I had to learn to put boundaries to have a better work life balance. And I hate to use the word balance because there's never a balance, but just to make
yeah.
sure we're not burnt out doing the things we love.
Mm,
So the biggest thing that I shifted, and it started really this year, is having dedicated work days. So Mondays and Wednesdays are days that I do things for Pompey Portraits, and that's anything that needs to get done. Rather that's a client session, back end meetings, ordering albums, doing any supply stuff for Pompey Portraits. And if I have time in between, I can sprinkle in some education. But for the most part, I stay pretty dedicated to that. So Mondays and Wednesdays are that day for Pompey Portraits. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are all things education. And so normally I do nothing for my photography to, work on those days. And I just hyper focus on my meetings, my networking events. If a networking event doesn't lie on that day, I need to make sure nothing else will kind of coincide. My calendar is color coordinated. People look at my calendar, they're like, whoa, this is like a coloring book. But like I can look at something at a glance and be like, okay, I have 4 meetings, a shoot, and this. And so
mm,
staying super organized in that caliber. I mean, I have one calendar for my personal and my business because I want to make sure I make a business around the life I desire, which is, I think,
yes.
hard for a lot of
Mm,
people to be like, well, I didn't put it on my calendar and now I don't have a day off. Like, days off are a must in
mm,
business. And so, yeah, Fridays are a flex day. Sometimes I'm off. Sometimes if there's something that needs to get done, gets done. But for the most part, I say Fridays, I'm pretty much off. I sometimes do prepare for content for the next week. And Saturdays and Sundays, your girl's off. I'm living my best life on the weekend. Like, I don't check an
yes.
email. I'm not texting. I don't text my clients. That's a boundary I have in my business. Like, if you need me, email me. I tell people I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I don't save lives. So,
A
like, it
hundred
can
percent.
wait.
Yeah, I think that's so great. And that was, with me and the medical background that I have, like that was one of the reasons that I was like, this is not it. Like I am not saving lives. Like I don't want that responsibility. Like so I definitely feel that now working in the creative space, working in the marketing space, it's like the none of the matters are so urgent that like nobody's dying. Like your post
Hmm.
didn't get posted or there's a correction. Like we can handle that. Like I will handle that when it is not on a Saturday, it is not on a Sunday. We're not like out here doing craziness. So, yeah, I get that completely. I was just having a conversation with my boyfriend because he works in that corporate job and he sometimes doesn't understand. He's like, "Oh, you went to the chiropractor this morning, must be nice." And I'm like, "That is like I put that in my schedule and I chose this life as a business owner so that I
Hmm.
can do that." And so I get my stuff done, I get all my work done, and we still go and do those things. So, yeah, I feel like that it being a business owner is so difficult, but the flexibility of life is one of the benefits. So I'm glad to hear you say that, you're scheduled, but you're also taking the time to live a life, like we're not
Absolutely.
running ourselves ragged.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, and I know, we've talked about so much that systems and automations, I know for me is one thing that is a must. I was telling the story in a teaching membership that I spoke to a couple days ago that when I first started Synovial marketing, when somebody would subscribe to our email list, I like ran to the computer and I was like sending them an email. Like I had no automation, like it was just me behind a computer. So much has changed in that aspect, and I'm sure for you as well. Can you speak on some of those, some of your automations today and some of that outsourcing, knowledge that I'm sure you've gained and had to gain
Yes.
through the process?
Yes, I honestly think that is the biggest hurdle for creative entrepreneurs. We have the brain of want to do this and I want to do that, and we tend to put down like in the back burner like the foundational things that we need in our business to
Mm,
help us run and make money. That is like the biggest thing I see. And I always tell people this is the unsexy part of business, but it is so crucial to the success of your business. And so I was talking to a colleague the other day and she's like, Angelica, how do you get through like your 20 something leads every Monday in like 15 minutes? I'm like, because I have a system in place. I'm literally
yeah.
clicking a button and the
Mm,
automatic email sends, it updates the status, and then it tells me if they open the email. Like all of that is by one click. Obviously, I had to set that up in the background, but now I have time to do other things that pour into my life and that I love to do, which is photographing my clients, sharing
mm,
my knowledge with my peers. And so that's just like one of many automations. I have a CRM that does a lot of my work. I have email marketing system. I have a bookkeeping system. So like there's so many systems that are like most of it is automated. And I built it that way because I personally don't want to be stuck behind a computer all day, every day.
no.
And that's not fun. So yeah, let me go do the fun shit I want to do.
Yes, yes, and I feel like that is the piece of business that I feel like a lot of business owners when they're starting out,
hmm
I feel like business can be so glamorized. It's like, "Oh, you're a small business owner. Oh, you own your own business." And it's like that part comes, but there was also, I'm sure, hours, I know for me,
hmm
hours spent behind the computer setting up those automations. We talk so much about this in email marketing. Like email marketing is so effective and it's like the highest ROI and it's so great. But like there's this front end work that like has to be done to set up the automations and set up all of this stuff that will work for you in the long run, but it doesn't just like magically happen. And so many people just think that like business is just like, oh, these clients are coming and like all of this great
Thousand
stuff, and
percent.
it's like you have to have that foundation and take the time to set that up. And I know still today I struggle with, I have to take days like you said and be like, hey, let's clean up the systems. Like, hey, there's some stuff that's not working
hmm
anymore, or some workflows that were like from the beginning of, this whole thing, and like that's not, it's old. So yeah, I definitely feel like the automations piece is what makes you successful, but it is like the, like you said, the unsexy part of, of business. Nobody wants to think about the SEO and the, building a website and like all of the automations and the techie stuff. They just want the money and the clients and they're
Yes.
like, "Oh, we go to events," and like it's like, yeah, that's
Yep.
not, yeah,
I love
100%.
it. Tell people like automations are there to help us, but to your point, like you set it and forget it, and if you never revisit, like is it
Mm,
still like serving your clients and giving them the best value and service that you desire? So something that me and my husband and my business coach do at the end of each year, we spend a week in December and we go through and we have like a 3-day retreat. Like with first
mm,
day, we go through like what worked well, what didn't work well. Day two we talk about what are we wanting to do for the new year, and then day three we're implementing the entire marketing plan for our business. I have this big ass calendar in my office here I look at every single day, and every time I show people they're like, what, is that your whole year? I'm like, yeah, like I have to know exactly how I can serve people, and if I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks without strategy, it's never going to work. So I
yes.
like to plan my things out for the year. I basically have half of 2025 already like kind of pre-planned because I'm just like trying to make sure I'm on track for my dreams and desires. And I think
Mm.
another thing people don't talk about is like, what does success mean to you? It might
Oh,
not be
yes.
monetary. Maybe it's like your time, your freedom, your flexibility, your children, like whatever that is for you. And your definition of success can change. Like, don't be
Yes.
set on that one thing.
I love that so much. Like literally before this interview, I was on the phone with my boyfriend and we had that conversation of like, because I was like, success for me is like I feel like I'm successful because I'm able to go to my son's field trips or pick him up from school
Hmm.
today or spend time with him or be that flexibility portion was huge for me. When I worked in nursing, there was no flexibility. Like you were
Hmm.
in that OR and I was working and like there was no leeway. So like that, I feel like success, like you said, for everyone is so different. And even just like thinking about that, sometimes I feel like those thoughts aren't had. Like you said, planning out your year. What does success look like for your business for next year? There's so many people out there, which I know it's easy to do, that are just
Hmm.
throwing spaghetti at a wall. They're just looking at next week. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And that's not how to get to be big and
Yeah.
successful. I like to say, if treat your business like the next Target or like the next Whole Foods. Like they're not thinking about next week. Like they're thinking about, next year and, 5 years, what's your plan and goals. So I
Yeah,
think that's a great
absolutely.
trying to.
And I love that comparison that you did to a brand. Like that's something that I always tell like my mentees, my students. Like what is a brand that you always like love to hear about, see about? Like if you could have a magic wand and you can mimic a brand, what brand would that be? And something that I'm very proud of for my business, for my photography is like my experience is like top tier. Hair and makeup is included. It is stress free. My clients talk to me 3 or 4 times before I even see them in person. So like the personal aspect. And I treat my business like Louis Vuitton. Like Louis
Yes.
Vuitton, Christian Louboutin, like Gucci, it's giving service. You walk in, a little glass of whatever you desire is ready for you. Like that's what I embodied when I started thinking about my brand and my business. So I encourage you, if you're struggling with branding and like you don't know what you want your business to look like what is a brand that inspires you, and take bits and pieces of that and how can you implement that in your business.
100%. Yeah, that was something that I had written down. I wanted to talk about your client experience and kind of how that like formulated, because that is something I definitely feel like a lot of businesses don't think about when they're going into business is how does this client experience feel? Do I even have a client experience? Like what is
Hmm.
and then I know, in the beginning sometimes maybe it's a little they haven't had that experience. They haven't had the clients yet, but moving forward, you should be able to, I feel like, look at your client experience, know, what that is, how you can improve it. So I'd love to talk about that because I do know that your client experience is like, I feel like luxury,
Yes.
like, and more thought was put into that. That didn't just like magically poof out of
No
somewhere.
way. Yes, yes. So my client experience when looking at a workflow per se, there's 22
So,
steps from the start of someone inquiring all the way through like asking for that review. And that's in my workflow.
mhm.
But essentially client inquires, they're getting an automatic email for letting them know like next steps. I give them a call. I call every single client. I make sure that we personalize that conversation, especially for what I do is very intimate. So I want to get to know the person that I'm going to be photographing. And so it kind of relieves the nerves a little bit to know that there's a human behind the brand. It humanizes your brand, especially at the price point that I'm at. I'm more of a higher tier price point for boudoir, but that is because of the service that I offer. And so upon booking, they get a prep guide. They get a mood board, if you will. They can kind of pick out the things that they want. I offer a client closet that is complimentary for my clients for maternity and boudoir. Hair and makeup is included in that. When they arrive to my studio, they're greeted with a drink of their choice, a bottle, a drink, whatever. And my cup is branded. It has their name. It has Pommy Portraits on it. And then I have their name on the wall. So it says welcome with
That's
their
so cute.
name. After their shoot, they take a picture with a Polaroid, and their Polaroid's put on the Babe Wall of Fame. So like it's like their staple in the studio that they've been here. They come back for their photo reveal. They see all their pictures in a slideshow. They're greeted with their name. I'm going through the photos with them and helping them select their absolute favorites. We pick the album covers. We're doing all of this. Like it's like very concierge kind of service. And as they're walking out, I'm like giving them a spiel, how we'll say next steps, what to expect.
Yes.
They get a branded bag with their products in it, and it's a reusable tote bag. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love a good big tote bag.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I have like a little stack of like my favorites that I've gotten from businesses, like use them for vacations, use them for all the things. Yeah, love a good tote
Yeah.
bag.
All of that. So yeah, that's branded. My thank you cards. It's a picture of me like, yay. And it says like on the bottom, like, leave me a Google review. That'll mean the world. And again, everything is like color wise on brand. People walk into my studio and they can know off rip. My colors are black, white, and I have like a mustard yellow. And it's
Mm.
everywhere. In my chair, now I'm in and my education colors is green. What's green? My chair is green. Like everything's green, black, and white. So like people having those kind of small elements in your branding will make amplify the brand voice for you without you even saying anything. And so yeah, my client experience is like, you know creme of the creme, and it just developed over time. Obviously when I first started it wasn't like that, but like I said, I went through and I was like, okay, what do I love and what do I want people to love about this experience? What do they walk away saying? Like talking about me in rooms that I'm not in was the biggest thing. Like that's what I thought
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I feel like I get so into the little details. Like, I like to think about, like you said, how I would want to go into a business. So, like, when I go into a business or I have an experience, like, how do I want to feel? So, I want my clients to feel the same way. I know, like, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I talk about this all the time because I'm so heavy on email marketing, is going to a website and like subscribing and you never get an email. And
Yeah,
it's like, you know what I mean?
did
Like,
it go
you
through?
feel yeah, yeah, like, did it go through? Where did it go? Like, I don't know. Am I ever gonna hear from them again? Like, so even just those little things, like, on your website, like, factor into the client experience, and I feel like giving so much of yourself and, like, having your clients have such a great client experience, even if, sometimes we look at I know I have to look at that sometimes if the return on that investment for that one client, maybe they didn't do a full shoot with you, or maybe you just met them at a networking event, but you did something a little extra for them, like you don't know how that is going to return in the future. So, like, I look at every interaction like that, even if it's not they scheduled with me, but just really doing nice things or going a little bit above and beyond. I know at that last Coffee and Connections, it really hit me. We talked about like the quality of your marketing materials. Like,
Mhm.
even just taking that a little step further just leaves that lasting impression. Like, oh, she really cares about her business, or, like she really put time and thought into this. So that's something I talk about a lot. I know you're big on that. I always talk about
Yes.
like a restaurant or an example of a restaurant. Like, if a restaurant doesn't have quality photography or quality like content, and somebody goes and searches that restaurant and they have like janky photos, and like you're not going to eat there, like this is not, if they don't put effort into their own business, why would I put effort, or why would I want to go there? So
Yeah, 1000%.
yeah,
And I have a message for my photographers out there. You need to get in front of the camera. People are like, "Well,
yes.
I'm always behind the camera." I'm like, "No, you need to be the face of your business." 9 times out of 10, we're personal brands when we're first starting our business.
Yeah.
You need to show your face. You need to show who's behind this business. I sent an Instagram message the other day. I got a DM and I was like, "Hi, I don't know who I'm talking to because your name is not on your profile. I don't see a face, but so nice to meet you. My name is Angelica." Like, make sure it's just small things on your social media, your website. Like, people shop with their eyes,
Mm.
especially for those that are service based and product based. Like, people are shopping with their eyes. So your imagery is so key to the success of your business.
100%. Yeah. And I feel like that definitely, I know for you and your business and just out in the community, people connect with you because of your energy and because of you. You know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
you're big on that and speak so much into that. It's like people want to connect with you and want to work with you because of you, like who you are, and yeah, the energy. So definitely, I feel like, yeah, portraying that on socials and on your website and all the
Mm-hmm.
places is super,
Yes.
super important.
Yeah, it's so
So I
funny that you
would.
say that. I'm sorry, one of my colleagues, she's like, I went on your website and it sounds just like you. I was like, tell me
Yes.
more. What made
Yeah.
you say that? She's like, you always say yes, queen, and get in the room. And that's like on your website multiple times. I'm like, that's the point. You want people to feel you in your language that you put on your website. So you never want to
Yeah.
put boring copy that doesn't match like your personality, who you are. So that's funny that you say that, because it's definitely just happened to me the other day. I was like, yeah, girl, that's what I do.
Yes, I was literally reviewing your website before the interview, and I was like, "This is her, like, this is it." Like, I could hear her talking, like, I could hear you saying all of the things, and, like, I love your little gifts, like, your little,
Yeah.
all of the things. It's
Thank
perfect, yeah,
you.
all of your stuff, whether it's social media or website, needs to portray you and your
Hmm.
personality, because that is, I talked about this with my business coach, a little bit ago, but I was probably about a year ago, I was on the fence about going faceless, as because we're a marketing agency, we're
Mm.
a full service marketing agency. I do have a team behind me, and I was kind of like going between going into this agency feel where it wasn't me, it wasn't just
Hmm.
my face everywhere on it. It was more agency
Yeah.
based. And I made the decision to continue being the face of the agency. And, I feel like that was the right decision. But there is, there's something to be said about your personality and the
Hmm.
connections that you make, even as your business grows and becomes more of the faceless or
Yeah.
agency. There's something to be said for the personal side of things, the connection. And I wanted to ask, I know with everything that you've got going, and we talked a little bit about client experience, how do you keep that personalization? I feel like I kind of know the answer, but how do you keep the personal touches? I know that you said that, like, going over the clients, all of their photos with them, sitting down at the photo
Hmm.
reveal. How do you keep the personalization of you there with them and that experience while you're scheduled to do all of these things and all of the.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a system. Like every time I finish a shoot, if I'm not going directly home, I pull a card out and I put it in my pocket just in case my equipment gets stolen. After a
Mm,
photo shoot, I go directly to my computer, upload the photos. It goes onto my hard drive into the cloud. After a photo reveal, I sit down, I have dedicate like a 10-minute time block to go ahead and either start the design if it needs to be put out right away, or put it in a different. I have like a tag in my CRM. Okay, design is pending. I have order forms. So order forms are then scanned into the CRM just in case the order form grows legs. So it's all systems that I have that I've built along the way. So if I'm not doing something in that specific order, it will feel really wrong to me. So I'm like, I'm missing something.
mhm.
And that has really saved my ass a couple times. I'm like, I'm missing something. Hold on. What did I just do? Okay, I didn't put in the order form in the CRM. And I think having these systems, how it allowed me to grow my team the way I have. I have an associate photographer, and she is like my right hand woman. And if I didn't
Mm,
have any of these systems or workflows in place, I wouldn't have been at any caliber to help train her and bring her up to the speed that how I serve my clients. And so when I brought her on, all of these things were in place, and I was just training her on the pumpy way.
yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's very seamless. And I think a big thing a lot of small businesses don't do is have SOPs. I have
Yes.
a Google Doc with everything outlined. I mean, Lord forbid something happens and I can't get out of bed. Somebody can go into this document and know, okay, this is where we're at in this process. This
Yeah.
is next. And it's super important because you just never know. That happened to one of my peers, and it was just so sad. Like, she was hospitalized. Her husband had
Mm.
no idea what to do with her business. He was like, I don't even know like software she's using. I'm like, it was a nightmare. And I was like, I felt so bad. Like, thankfully she had other peers that, knew her in her business a little bit more, and they jumped in. But like, those are scenarios that we don't think about until it happens. And then when it happens, we're shit out of luck. So
100%. I remember the first time, like, I hired a virtual assistant, and I'd never thought about it. Like, I never thought about what I did on the daily, like your
mhm,
systems, or even what programs you use, or like things like that. So she was onboarding, and I was like I had to sit down like super fast before the meeting with her, and like literally write out. But again, it's that taking
mhm.
the time to sit down for 2 hours and write out everything that happens. And businesses don't think about that. They're like, oh, I'll do it later. Oh, I'll do it later. And then, like you said, like, you're hospitalized or something happens, and it's like, you don't think about it until it's too late. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely like SOPs and like those systems, having that sheet that has everything that you do, or all of your systems, all of your processes, is important, even if you don't have a team yet. But then, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you do, and when you're onboarding somebody, you already have this paper, so you're not scrambling around. And like, I remember I was trying to put together this workbook of like what this lady needed, and I was like, this is crazy. I should have done this way before. Like, don't do this now. But yeah, that's really important. I feel like that's a really great nugget of information, is like, even if it's just you, even if you're a solopreneur, like, let's write
Absolutely.
out what we're doing, like what we do on the daily.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you're a solopreneur and you're struggling with this, I recommend Tango, Tango. It's a free plugin through Google, and it will literally track screenshots all your clicks, and then all you have to do is just go in there and write in the copy. And I think if you pay for the paid version, it will write it out for you. So that's a free tool. Take a look at it. It's a great resource.
Yes, yes. I love, love, love Tango. I'll put that in the show notes for sure, because it's going to be super helpful for everybody. I wanted to talk about your, I know you are doing all the things. You always have all the fun networking opportunities, and your mentorship program, and your business church, like all the things
Yes.
happening. So I wanted to kind of jump into those, some opportunities for our listeners to connect with you. Where can they learn all the
Yeah.
things and do all the
Absolutely. So I actually have a membership called Business Church. It is an online community for female entrepreneurs to learn every aspect of business marketing, from social media to website branding. And every quarter is a different theme. And so right now we're finishing up our theme for Instagram. All the replays are available on a running 1 year period. And every single month we have a workshop, content co-working days, which is basically a time where I give you prompts and you have time to work on it and have my eyes to review it. And then live Q&A. It's an online community. We have a private Facebook group, and I have women in there. I have 45 women in there, and we have women all over the US, in California, Portland, Boston, Florida, Texas. It is awesome. And it's every women in there is different walks of life, different businesses, product-based,
Mhm.
service-based. Some women are full-time, some are part-time. And so if you are looking for an online community, I would love to invite you for a free month of Business Church, and I'll send the link over so you guys can take a dab at it and see if it's something that serves you. It is a super fun space. And if you're ready to learn, I tell people this is basically like group coaching with a DIY experience. You can always go back and watch the replays. And every single month, either I'm hosting the workshop or I have a guest speaker. And those have been super, super juicy. Every time people are like, I did this, I did this. I'm like, I love this. We're seeing wins left and right. And I'm all about community, as you already said. Like, community in
Mhm.
person is obviously super valuable, but having something for those to participate online is amazing. And I will be hosting some things more in person for Business Church very soon. So yay.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I want to check out Business Church. I've been to a couple of the in-person things and some conferences that you spoke at, and it was absolutely amazing. So I will definitely put all of that information in the show notes so everybody can connect and, get connected with all of the things. I love that. I love the virtual type aspect, because, with the mom life and all the things,
Yes.
sometimes I can't go to the in-person things, but I can go to virtual. I love my virtual stuff. I can, do that. So yeah, yeah, I am just so excited. I cannot wait to see, the next coming things with Pompey,
Yes.
with Angelica, all the
All
things.
things Pompey. There's so much happening
Yes.
all the time. And people are like, how do you keep up? I'm like, I like to keep it new and fresh.
Yeah.
Life is short. Fuck it. Here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love the energy. Well, thank you so, so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I know that this episode is going to be such a valuable resource for our listeners. I will put all of this information on how to connect with Angelica in the show notes. So be
Okay.
sure to follow us here at Synovial Marketing Masterclass for more amazing episodes, and we will catch y'all next time. Okay, guys, that wraps up today's episode of the Synovial Marketing Masterclass. Thanks so much for tuning in, and remember to stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be discussing another important topic to help your business thrive. Also, be sure to follow us on all social platforms at Synovial Marketing, and head over to our website, synovialmarketing.com, for all your marketing needs. Talk to y'all soon.